Cool beans. So here we go. Kia ora and welcome everybody to yet another episode of Big Life Mindset. I am very graciously joined here by Judd Baker. Kia ora, Judd.
Kia ora.
And not only not only am I with Judd, but he's also invited me into his home. And man, I probably should have walked around with the camera because this place is beautiful. You've done a lot of good work here, bro.
Thanks.
It looks really good.
Yeah. Thanks.
This is not one of those you did really well jobs. This is a really cool place. So one of the reasons why I wanted to catch up with Judd is that we worked alongside each other, the government agency called ACC, which, if you're not from New Zealand, is essentially just the government insurance company. I talked about it previously where in New Zealand, if you get injured, there's no need for insurance to go through the health system, although you can get private insurance, but ultimately everybody in New Zealand gets covered. So if an accident happens at work or on the sports field, you basically rock up to your health providers and then they'll start to kind of funnel you through the system. So that's where I got to meet Judd, and he and I worked alongside each other for a few months at ACC. That was when I knew him in a professional context, but Judd also is more than just what he turns up to work as. He's also a husband and a dad. He's got 3 kids and 2 Jack Russells, and they live on a rural property, this one here, which they have been throwing quite a lot of effort and time into and making it more of a home for them. I love this. I often ask people, sing a little bit about yourself before we catch up. And he and I apparently are watching lots of rugby league, which is both a blessing and a curse.
Only blessing.
Yeah. Did you catch much of the World Cup?
Yeah.
No.
All of it.
No. Yeah. Any standout games?
Actually, the Kiwis against Australia was a good game. It was close. But the England-Samoa was probably the best game of the tournament.
I missed it.
Oh, that was good.
I missed it.
Oh, it's good to see them lose. Good to see England lose. And Samoa win.
Of course.
It was cool.
I didn't even see the final, to be fair.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a good one?
It was never really a contest there.
It's a tough one when you're coming up and I can only imagine you play England. That's kind of your final, right?
Yeah. That was big enough, right?
Yeah. Good on them.
Hard to get up again.
It's further than what we got, right?
Oh, yeah. Personally, definitely.
I went and watched it with my brother and Rara.
Oh, yeah.
And, when you start getting that sense, I've seen this play out before, one mistake after another, and just not quite executing. And I thought, we're going to see the wrong side of the result here.
Yeah. Inevitable.
There was that sense of inevitability, So what else has been on your plate? What have you been working on?
What have I been working on? So I just started contracting about 6 months ago. So for about 6 months I've been in contract work, working in a government agency, delivering a big fund, like a disability welfare fund, which has been really, really interesting. And it felt pretty successful. We got all the money out.
Nice.
Making a difference for people.
That's a win.
Yeah.
Getting the money out the door.
Absolutely. It is a win. It really is. Getting it out in a way that there's not a lot of contention and not a lot of upset communities. So that was a big win for us. So that's really been me on the work front, contracting and doing my mahi, and that allows me to do the stuff I really care about, which is family and rugby league. Mowing the lawns.
Yeah. Oh man, I should just off screen. There's a lot of lawn out there that has to be mowed. Getting that right on mower, bro. That's the win.
Yeah,
that's big win. The win.
Yeah. Big win.
One of the things I find government does really well is hold on to money, and less efficient or successful at kind of getting the money out into the right hands.
Yeah.
What's some of the challenges that you found with the role?
Yeah, I think you're right. We've talked just recently that we got the money out, and a lot of people are really surprised at the ease at which we got it out. So I think there's just so many obstacles, I guess, to getting something like that delivered for the community.
Yeah.
Even some real practical, tangible things like sign off taking weeks and weeks and weeks. No one agreeing about an approach, or so many opinions, and sending you down these different goose chases, sending you on a different goose chase. Oh, go and talk to this person, go and talk to this person. So we do tend to hold on to the money quite a lot. And you hear experiences from others saying, oh, there was all this money left over from this fund, and I'm like, where did it go? And it just goes back
in the pot. It just kind of disappears at that stage as well.
That's right.
What were some of the things that you found worked quite well?
Well, we engaged a lot with the community. There was a lot of I don't want to say bad blood, but this was a response to some lack of support for disabled people during the COVID period, and services and responses not tailored to their diverse needs. So I think the approach that we definitely took was to work with those communities and get an understanding from their perspective what it is that they need. This wasn't about us telling them what to do and what the money's for. We found it was a really positive uptake when we said, you tell us what the money's for. That this is about supporting you with your needs, not about us supporting you with what we think you need.
Nice.
So that was a really big shift, I think, an approach anyway that I've never really taken before. So it was good, worked out well.
Nice. That's it's a subtle shift, but it's a big one, right? That change in perspective. Well, how did you just describe? So it's us supporting you with your needs, not us telling you what we think your needs should look like. You said it much better. I had to rewind that. But that was slick. So I mentioned one of the reasons I've been looking forward to catching up, bro, is because during our time at ACC, you really struck me as a person that balanced the head and the heart quite well with your approach to challenges that we were facing. And ACC is like any other kind of big organization. I think 3,000 people, which for New Zealand is huge. And like touched on all the sign-off processes and all the different personalities involved. What I find is that there's a lot of situations that people get quite uncomfortable and negative experiences at work. What are some of the things that you've experienced where you thought, actually, we could do this better? And it might not even be ACC. But just situations you thought, actually, this is not working for me. Here's why we can do this differently.
Well, I think the example I just talked about was like a really good learning experience for me for how to do things quite differently. Being given a really, I guess, like loose-ish mandate. Like, I think sometimes we're often told what we should do at work rather than given some parameters and to work to that and find the solution or the service that we're going to deliver in response to the problem. And I know you come from that background and you've probably experienced a lot more than me, but I think in the general day-to-day working environment, that's not how we operate, especially in government. We probably follow a path that many others have followed before. And we were talking earlier about the car crash we've all seen happen before. These things play out over and over again, and we don't necessarily learn from them, and we almost certainly don't change from them. So I think that's probably one of the big things that I see is that we just end up doing the same thing over and over again, and celebrated for working hard. That's a big thing. And I talked about it before. I think you might have seen some of it. I like to talk about my dogs, actually. Like they're awesome dogs. I love them to pieces. And for dogs, they're pretty smart, but they also just like follow their nose. And they just walk this trodden path over and over again. And they stuff up. They get lost. Like literally up in these hills, my dogs have been lost because they find a rabbit, they chase the rabbit for hours and hours and hours with their nose down to the ground going, I'm busy. And then they look up and they have no idea where they are. And I don't know where they are. So how like if you think about that as an analogy for work, I think it happens all the time. You know, good people that you care about, that you like love in a work sense, that work hard, they follow their noses, they get lost, and then they don't know where they are. And I think it happens at all the levels. We see it at every level in government, in workplaces, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It just happens over and over again. My dogs will be lost again in a couple of days. They'll be up in the hill somewhere, and I'll have to go find them, pull them back. But they just get, like, again, using that analogy, they just get absolutely just single-minded in what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And they don't see the things that are going on around them that might make them, they probably wouldn't, but make a different decision to go over the third hill over there and be well and truly lost. They don't have that reflection. Yeah.
There's not even that opportunity.
Because they're just zeroed in on the target.
Yeah. It's such a good analogy. I remember when you put something up, it must have been LinkedIn, and I remember reading it, and the way you described it was just a visual as well. I could just visualize it perfectly, and then you could just like layer over people, people in an office environment. Just, oh my God. Why do you think we don't take the time to lift our head up and see what's going on?
Oh, there's a lot of pressure to deliver, right? And often, like, the biggest pressure to deliver is time. Like, it's not about quality. It's about time. It's about your budget. It's almost transactional, the things that we're doing, without really thinking about the big picture or looking at the big picture. And we're just so driven by time and less about the outcome and less about the people and what's best for them. We were talking about that fund earlier. What's best for you? Tell me what's best for you. Don't let me tell you what's best for you, because I don't know.
There's a big power imbalance coming from the government side of things too, right? Because big government is just like deep pockets, well resourced, and it's often, like you say, driven by timelines and just a delivery date that starts to override I'll just call them customers for want of a better phrase, but the customers' desires and needs. We just say, actually, we've got this thing that we need to deliver. We have to get this money out the door, so this is what it's going to look like.
It's exactly what happens. And it's a path that is well trodden. It happens over and over again. It happens exactly like that almost every single time. And there needs to be some sort of like circuit breaker in that. There needs to be something that disrupts this continuous loop of average mediocreness.
Which we sign up for as well.
Absolutely. We do sign up for it. But we also, I mean, I think I've seen this as really clearly as a contractor. We sign up for it and agree to it because we're part of that organisation. And when we start to, as a contractor, I can really see that when there's a decision made now, and I'll give advice on the decision, I'll make a recommendation, and if they don't listen to me, I don't carry that risk. I don't carry that liability. I'm like, sweet, I've given you my advice. If you're not going to listen, or if you don't want to listen, or if you've got another idea, Kate pie, but you carry that risk, not me. Whereas I think when you're in the organisation, you carry that risk. Like whoever you are, because it's not how it is, but you sort of belong to that organisation. Like you're part of that organisation. You carry the risk. If you were to speak up or try and break the circuit, and you're wrong, then you carry that risk. And so we just go with the flow a lot of the time, and we just do what's been done before. It's lower risk for you. If it fails, well, it'll never fail. It'll be like the Jack Russell. They'll catch the rabbit. They'll catch it eventually. It may not be the best rabbit. It may not be every single day that they'll catch a rabbit. One day they'll catch one. Like we'll get it eventually. But it won't be the highest quality. It won't be the best. So I think, if we can try and remove the risk from that personal risk that you carry, and that relies on your leadership, right? Your leadership needs to carry that risk. Like you're not responsible for these outcomes. They are, really. They're the decision maker. They're the ones that are responsible for the budget or the funding or the money. It's being given to them. they're responsible. They should be carrying the risk, and I don't think they necessarily do a lot of the time. And they might technically, but I don't think they carry the same liability as a worker does. Goes home and worries about this fund, or worries about the person that's out there that doesn't have access to the services that they deserve.
Yep. And possibly, and this isn't maybe a generalization, but possibly because at the upper management level, they're not at the coalface, so they're not seeing the people that are directly affected by those decisions. It's more the ones and zeros and the reporting upwards that takes place. What have you found? Have you found any differences between being a full-time permanent? Because you were full-time permanent when we were at ACC. Have you found any differences between that and the contracting as well? Huge
differences. I think. There's a few things. I think what almost number one is like the personal value you put on yourself. I think you put a lot more value on yourself and your expertise and your experience when you're a contractor. And honestly, I've never worked harder. Like, I will say that. Like, you work hard as a contractor, but you also, I think your mindset shifts a bit where you realise they're paying you for every minute. Every minute that you're working, they're paying you. And without your own like integrity around that, what's the point? That's all we have as individuals in a professional work environment. All we have is our integrity. And if you're going to sort of take the piss out of a contractor rate and an hourly rate, chargeable hours, then that's actually on you. That's a problem that you've got. So I've found that shift has been really, really, really good. I work a lot harder. I'm a lot more at peace at work as well. Because you're not like involved in all the stuff that's going on. You're not carrying that personal risk and stuff. You don't have to go to some of these meetings.
These pointless.
You know those meetings, where the round table meeting. Where there once upon a time was an agenda, and now you just go once a fortnight for 2 hours, and all the people in the room tell you what's on top. And I mean, they're trying, they really are. People really are trying. But those things are pointless. No one's listening to you. No one knows what you're talking about. For one, right? If they are listening, they don't know what the heck you're talking about. So it's just some of those things. You're just like removing all the fat from your day.
That's a good way to describe it.
Just removing that. And then I think, like, personally, like at home, it's so much better when you can really, I mean, of course you get paid a lot better. I mean, you're carrying some liability of your own. You're not getting paid sick leave. You're not getting paid holiday pay or annual leave, paying your own taxes, AC, all that stuff. You're still getting more, and it just enables you to just do more of the things that you love, that you actually care about. Like, I care about working. But it allows one of the reasons I care about is it allows me to do things I actually care about. That I truly, deeply care about. Like your family. I mean, that's pretty much it. And everything around that. But also your own personal goals, like outside of work. You can have these goals for your family, but I think this also now allows you to have goals for yourself and grow yourself as a person. So it's empowering. Well, the first 6 months of contracting anyway, it's been really empowering, and I'm really, really enjoying it, and I'm just enjoying that autonomy and personal, professional integrity. It's really important to me now. I mean, it always has been, but I think now I'm sort of my own business.
Which you are, right?
And if I stuff that up, then that's on me. So I quite like that. To me, that's freedom. It's actually freedom. Like, I'm only relying on myself, and I don't have to ensure that others are doing the same as me, because that's on them. I just look after me and do my job really, really well.
Do you find there was a different kind of cadence or speed to being a contractor and the full-time permanent employees?
If I was to compare myself to other permanent employees that I've worked with in the past, definitely. And even being a permanent employee myself, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I go for coffee now.
Yeah.
I'm not charging for it.
Yeah.
I go and have a coffee. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know, like I take my time.
Yeah.
But you know, a few years ago, I'd go for a coffee and it's paid.
Yeah.
Like it. So I wouldn't ever blame permanent employees for doing that. That's just the way it is. But there's a lot of different conversations you have as a permanent employee just in the office compared to when you're a contractor. I think you're having different conversations. You're not just gas banging.
I find it brings a kind of focus that when I made that first step to contracting, the level of focus that came with it was unexpected. And I going back to your comment about the integrity is I would be sitting in a conversation, if I could tell that this was not work related, suddenly I'm like, ordinarily I would love to chat with you about this, but I've actually got to hustle. I feel like I could talk about this. I'm really enjoying the conversation, but I'm on the clock here. And I think part of it is that delivery mindset as well. Like you get brought into an organization, this is the goal that they need you to hit. Right, go. And we don't have time for you to be pissing around. So I enjoyed it. Like I find it suits my my style and the way I like to operate anyway.
Same. And I was actually really surprised, to be honest. Like,
nice.
It was almost like an instant shift in the way that I thought about myself. Like I had greater value on myself, more worth in myself. And it was almost instant. The minute I thought about how I was being paid for every minute that I'm here, it made a huge difference to the way that I operated. You know?
I like it. It's not for everyone though, right? Contracting?
I don't know. Maybe not.
I think it's particularly what I find is that because there's so much of it is deadline driven or delivery based, is that if you're very comfortable in that kind of BAU space where you've got a lot of predictability about the role, then if that's your comfort zone, then contracting is going to feel uncomfortable. Because there's a lot more of the, here, catch this. Oh, catch this one, catch this one. And then you're like, okay, and then I can pull them all together on the fly. And there is that accountability around, right, well, going live in a month, tell us where we're at. And you don't tend to have as much opportunity to say, oh, well, we need to push it up X, Y, or Z reason. I mean, you can still do it, but I think there's more emphasis on what's your rationale that's going to support this. And so, I feel like there's maybe just some types that would find it quite challenging. But even then, I encourage people to try it, to try contracting. Aside from the pay, which is, as you described, is definitely better. When I think about contracting, there's, you don't pay annual, you don't get paid annual leave, sick leave, stat holidays. You quite rightly pay your own ACC, your own KiwiSaver. And the two other reasons I found that a person who's contracting gets paid more, one was you get paid for the illusion of job security or the lack of job security. I think people who have never contracted before think, oh, I wouldn't do that because at the end of a certain period of time, I'm almost, there's a high likelihood I won't have a job after that, thinking that if you're full-time permanent, your job's going to be safe and secure. But man, Wellington is just proof in the pudding that at the stroke of a pen, jobs just get dismantled constantly. And the other point that you made, which I totally agree with, is that I don't think people realize their value until they start contracting.
I think that's a huge one, man. Like I've worked with a lot of people, and even just in recent roles, and I don't know if it's definitely not a gift, but I reckon I can see the potential in people and that they don't see in themselves.
Oh, yes.
And there was a couple of people at ACC. Man, I saw from day one you've got some real talent and you're not valued here.
Yep.
Like not that I'd said this to them, but I would be thinking like, how can I help them? Like they're good. Yeah. They're really, really good. They're a lot smarter than the rest of you. And I think you're right. When you become a contractor, you see your value in like in numbers.
Yep.
You see a monetary value to yourself. And it's huge. It's empowering.
Yeah, and like I found that quite a dirty process to start with, to be honest. When they said, "Well, what's your hourly rate?" I'm like, "Oh, I threw myself in a dollar cent." Like, I was really uncomfortable with that. I found that quite difficult. And the concept of monetizing my time. It's like, I'd give it free. I was that kind of people pleaser. But being able to do that, so that was a challenge as well, I think. Something I found useful in being a contractor in that work in the office environment anyway is that by having that focus you can kind of bring people along with you as well, people who are engaged and they're motivated and
and the right people will come along with you, right? They'll see your empowerment, how you're empowered, and they'll see your it's not direct, your assertiveness, because I don't know how it happened, but you become more assertive and they'll see that and they think, I can totally do that.
Yes.
He's not much different to me.
Yeah.
I can be like that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they have a better experience as well because they see that and then they probably also think, I should go and do some contracting now.
I
think you should. Yeah, give it a go.
Yeah. There was I don't know whether this is just up in my head or whether it was real, but I sometimes got the feeling that people looked at the money that you're on and not you as a person sometimes. I don't think that was in my head, actually. I saw that kind of come through in some comments. So I guess just another pitfall to be mindful of, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think there is that view on you because they just see the whole. But if they're aware of the number, they see the whole number. They don't see all the other stuff that you've got to pay with that money.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you don't have personal insurance to cover indemnity and those sorts of things. You get Christmas Day off.
Yep.
I mean, I do too, and I ain't getting paid for it. I'm not getting a cent. I went to my daughter's athletics. My daughter made like the Western Zone athletics.
Nice.
She's 9, and sport's not her thing.
Oh wow!
But I thought, man, I should be going to this. Yeah. I should take. Both of our kids made it, so we got twins, and I thought I should go. And then I was doing the calculations, a bit like the holiday conversation. I was doing the calculations like. So if I take a day off, I have to spend a day with all these kids that are not mine. I get to see my 2 kids, awesome, do their events, but it's going to cost me this many dollars.
Yes.
And I went, it's a fair bit of money just to go and watch athletics.
Yeah.
But, like a bit like a holiday thing, it was the right thing to do.
No.
Like that's just a day's work.
But it is a factor. Like you factor it into your decisions.
Big time.
Yeah.
So while there's freedom enabled because you're earning more, there's also the reality that we've got 3 weeks off over Christmas. We can't work, right?
Yeah.
There's no money coming in.
Yeah, that's right.
So the money I've got, it is more, but it's not as much as you think it is.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's worth knowing as well. There is that, because that is a very real consideration. Much less meaningful. I had a couple of mates that, we should go away for a boys' weekend up in Napier. And I thought, cool, I'll do that. And then when they picked the dates, I was like, oh God, what's that, 3 days and not being paid?
You're doing the math.
Yeah. So I'm not just swinging past Debbie, we're going away. It's also, we're going away and we're not going to get this much money because I'm going away and spending more while I'm away. It's like, these are very real considerations.
Yeah.
What do you find works? Because, being a contractor, you're constantly, you've got to be aware of sign-off processes, right? You've got to get stuff approved and whatnot. What have you found works for you, and what do you find more challenging?
In terms of like sign-off processes and just the general machinery of government processes, I don't know if I found anything that works, to be honest, other than you put together a memo for signing, for example. It's not the fastest way to do it by any stretch. No. It's the longest way to do it. And they don't read the memos. I don't think. I don't think they really read the memos.
They can't possibly read all the stuff that's getting put on them.
They can't. So we've actually taken this approach lately where we're just testing ideas all the time with the leaders.
That's brilliant.
And almost happy to fail. Because then we can go, well, at least we're not doing that. We're not doing that thing because they don't like it. So, okay, we're not doing that. And it just circumvents this whole formal. So I get that there's sign off. There's reasons for the formal sign off, but you can do that after you've explained it to them, and you can say, "Here's that document. It's everything we talked about. You just need to sign it." Yeah. So I think there's the rituals of approval that we currently do, but it doesn't need to be as rigid as that. I think it's got to be a lot more open. You can, in 20 minutes, you can explain an idea that takes you 2 weeks to write a memo for.
You
know, like, why would you do the 2 week version when you can do the 20-minute version? And if it's wrong at that point, either of them, then that time's gone. You know, you're not getting that 2 weeks back. It's better to have spent 20 minutes and not get that time back in the 2 weeks, right?
Totally agree.
So I really like that approach, and we've been trying to, I guess, make it a bit of a normal thing. Any idea now we've got for this piece of work that we're working on, we're just trying to test it with our leaders straight away and just get them across it, let them kick the tires in, is the saying I heard the other day. And I thought, that's a good way to put it. Like, you can pick this apart now, but it's not helpful if you pick apart the 2 week thing we worked on. That's a challenge. You've lost all that time. And then your timelines get pushed out, and then everyone's saying, why haven't you done this? Well, it took us 6 weeks to get you to agree to something.
Because you made us write the memo to start with. And so that was all that lost time. Take note, kids. Like, this is gold stuff, by the way. I'm a massive subscriber to that, that fail fast. But I instead of calling it fail fast, I try and put it to learn fast mindset, because there's so many negative connotations that come with the words fail and failure. And yet, if you were to say, hey, we're going to use this as a learning opportunity, should we add more learning opportunities into our feedback loops, just like jargony stuff like that, then people are like, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds good.
Learn. It's a positive, right?
It's a positive. But I said, look, we're going to fail at least 18 times this week. What are your thoughts? I'm like, whoa.
What are you doing?
End of contract. Thanks for coming. I appreciate your time, your direction, and your thoughts. I think something that's almost necessary for that to work is the managers or those key decision makers have to buy into that process as well, right?
I think so. We've probably done it by stealth, and I've maybe seen or not the value in us doing it like that. So agreeing to doing it this way more and more often, whether they're aware that they're kind of doing something that may normally have been a memo or a paper or something like that. The formal process is still the same. Like, the formal part of it doesn't change. But I think if you have a leader that is aware of what you're doing, I think it's only a good thing, right? Because then they're going to allow you to do it. They're going to create that space for you to be able to do it with others as well. So I think you're right. It's important to have them on board with that approach if you can.
Absolutely. I find it's like socializing the idea with the decision maker and with the people that are going to be around. So I always target, like, who is the key decision maker in this process and who are the key influencers of those key decision makers. And, the style I like to do is, who's ultimately going to be accountable for this thing? Like, who's the last person that's going to put their signature on this? And then I try and book time in with them and say, hey, look, I understand this piece of work is ultimately you're going to be accountable for. Can we catch up for 30 minutes? And that conversation just clears out so much noise. And then I basically use that person's name like a credit card. And I say, every follow-up conversation, somebody else, I'll say, so I've already spoken to Dave, who's obviously the key person who's signing off on this, and this is where he thinks it is. So it moves away from, this is our field of focus, to, okay, we're here now. And each iteration just kind of refines on that. Not getting that time, and I've seen when I've done it wrong and I haven't booked that time in with that person, is that you spend so much time like trying to tick other people's boxes, but they don't actually know what the final thing is meant to look like. They've got their opinion, which is useful, but especially in these big organizations, it's easy to get caught up trying to please everybody and get their agreement but actually it wasn't necessary.
I think then too, you move away from the actual audience, right? Like working in the social sector a lot. You know, you got the key stakeholders are actually the people, right? Like it's not the manager of X, Y, and Z. It's the people, and the more you, I guess, tailor what you're doing to those managers, there's the potential that you're moving further and further away of what's actually needed, right? And what's going to make the difference.
Yeah, and it can be a tough conversation to have with people sometimes where you say, well, actually, this is what the evidence is telling us. Like, this is what your customers,
very
your
tough conversation.
And then you can see that they're so far down the road on this thing that no matter what you tell them, they just need their idea to be successful, their idea to be delivered. Those can be really tough because, bring it back to your earlier point, it's out of your control whether you can influence their decision, but it's out of your control ultimately as to whether they're going to go with it or not. But when you can see that it's not the right thing, you're like, oh, man, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. How do you deal with that? Because, coming from your background, what I understand your background, you're very focused on the user, right?
Yep.
So how would you have that conversation with a manager?
Yeah, if I would kind of half a step sideways. The first thing I want to understand is the manager's motivations. So if that's budget bound, if it's time bound, like what is telling them that they have to have this particular solution?
Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm basically going to try and leverage that. If I can tell them that it's going to come in under budget, but money's not a consideration for them, I'm not really hitting the right, I'm not really using the right language. And so as soon as I understand that, whether it's through them or it's a person that's speaking on their behalf and representing their interests, that's what I'll be looking for.
Yeah.
Once I've got that in hand, then a lot of it comes back, because I'm an evidence-based person. I prefer to use that, but I also understand the power of emotion as well. And if you can get somebody like emotionally invested in what your solution looks like, they're more likely to pick it up and run with it, and then they become the champions.
Yeah.
When I talk about the key influences of key decision makers, ACC is no different from any other place where you've got these, you've got, especially at that senior leadership team or executive leadership team level, and they've got a principal advisor. Like that principal advisor is their eyes and ears.
Yeah,
and so if they recommend something, then you've already kind of got something over the line. And so those are the people that I target. I always make sure I have a conversation with the principal advisor. So what's on the manager's plate at the moment? Cool. So we've got the solution that's going to be really beneficial. This is what it looks like. And I use that learn fast mindset approach that you described, where we like socialize the idea early and often so that we can quickly sift through what it is. And then if I have that conversation with that senior leadership team manager or the LT or whatever, it's going to be cool. So your principal advisor and I have been walking through this, and, adds credibility to what you're then going to follow up with.
Yeah.
It's playing the game, really.
Yeah. But it's also relationships, right?
Yeah.
Like, you were just talking about like a principal advisor. They're up there, but it's how you build trust with them, right? Like, so that the story that you're telling is trustworthy, because you've got to build a personal relationship, trust with them. That's why I always think about managers, and I'm sure that's a cliche, but the most important person is their EA. Just like talk to them and get to know them and chat with them, and then honestly, you almost can get anything over the line. You just push mine to the front.
Absolutely.
That's how it happens.
This is people, though, right? Like, this
exactly.
Is within this big machine, and I can think of an EA. She's brilliant for doing that. Just having a really good relationship with, she'll know that you've got a deadline coming out.
Yeah.
But you've just got that relationship, and couldn't agree more, bro. Absolutely. What do you think for people who find it difficult to build relationships in that manner, but still have a lot of value to add? What's something that they could be doing differently?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was told a long time ago that relationships are everything in the workplace. Relationships are everything. No matter what problem you've got, you can actually solve it with a relationship. So I always carry that with me. And I'm, you might not believe it, I'm quite introverted. I'm not really someone who's going to go out of my way to get to know somebody, only because I don't have a trust trusting relationship with me because I don't know them. As soon as I know them, we're on. You know, like I won't stop. So I don't know. Talking about things that are not work are quite good. You know, even just in the like real basic stuff, like in the kitchen. How was your weekend? Like that small talk is the gateway to the actual meaningful stuff, right? So you got to go through it, and it's kind of awful sometimes, right? That small talk. But like actually, I think the way to build a relationship, a meaningful relationship, is to have a meaningful relationship with them. Ask them about things that actually matter. You know, not just the weather. That's how you get there, right? But meaningful things that matter to them. You can see it on someone's face when you're talking about something to them that matters.
Yes.
Whatever it is. I mean, it's usually kids or family, but dogs is a brilliant one. Dogs is amazing. It is amazing because they can actually talk shit about their dog, you know?
For hours.
For hours. And they can be quite ruthless about their dog. Oh, she's a pain. You're not going to say that about your kids. Well, you shouldn't really say that stuff about your kids. But people talk about their dogs forever.
This is true.
I love it. And that's kind of what I got dogs. No, it's not. But it breaks down these barriers straight away.
Yeah, you know? It does.
Like I just ran a sort of like a workshop, like a panel a few months ago, and I didn't know that they all had dogs. It was luck. I said, "Tell me about your icebreaker." Worst things, icebreakers.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate them. But I said, "Oh, tell us about your pets." And the icebreaker took about 45 minutes. Just to talk about the dogs. There's only 5 of us. So people were just talking about their dogs on and on and on. And it was awesome.
Cool.
And then we had a few of these repeat sort of panel workshop things that went on. Every day, every time we caught up, it was dog chat.
Yes.
You know, like it was this thing that we all had dogs and we all bonded over our dogs. And it actually made this task, it was really challenging. Like if I was to think about in my last project, this was that period was the most challenging part of the whole project, was this getting through this like an evaluation panel of the applications. We talked about our dogs, and it made it sort of seem a little less hard.
Cool.
And that we were in it together, you know, like we were all on this together. We're all not the same, but we're all the same. You know, we're all people. We all have families and dogs, and we love our dogs in bits. And we've got this really time-consuming, challenging task. But we can do that, right? We look after each other, talk about your dog, have a break, talk about your dog. You know, like it was really, really powerful. Like at a silly level, it was powerful because it was about our dogs, right? But that matters.
I love
mattered
that.
to people.
I do, because people, like, it's a nice outlet. It's a nice common ground. There's a lot of positives. It's not like, it's not, you know, you kind of describe it's mutual suffering, but it's like mutual happiness as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one thing that we're all really keen on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm smiling now thinking about my dogs. And they're just over there, walking around and sleeping on the floor.
Take note, This is like a key. Because you see often, it's like, you know, my wife, she just hates experiences where she has to meet new people, where she's got to have conversations with strangers and, you know, just absolutely loads and run away from them. And so a lot of people are just not comfortable having conversations, especially about themselves. But actually talking about something like your dog or your kid, it's like an arm's length, right? So it's something that you're really familiar with. You've obviously got an interest in, and you've got experiences that you can talk about, but it's not about you.
You're not talking about yourself.
Because it can be quite hard for people. Everybody, at times.
And a cultural thing too, right? Like a lot of us are taught not to talk about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Māori Island is like, it's a thing, right? I can't speak for other cultures, but I know.
Big time.
Yeah.
Kumara doesn't talk about how sweet it is or something like that. It's probably.
Oh, I have heard this.
Yeah.
I have heard this. It should, though. Kumara's badass. What's the other thing I was going to ask you? Oh, yeah. So have you ever experienced difficult personalities in the office?
Oh, yeah.
What is that like?
Yeah, I think someone once, I was dealing with someone difficult once, and a colleague of mine very wisely said they were basically saying that's a hurt person. You know, like that. The reason they're like that is they're hurt for whatever reason. And it was quite a good way to think about it. And, you know, like I think I try to apply that when I feel like I'm being offended by something that they say. Or that they, in my opinion, are saying something mean or hurtful or aggressive. I try and think about it in a way that actually they're a person. There's some stuff going on, and them being like that is a reflection on them. That's not a reflection on me. Like, if you're going to get upset at me at work or whatever it is, then that's actually on you. That's not on. That's not. It doesn't matter what I do. No one should be upset at me for my work. But also, again, like the relationship and getting to know somebody and understanding where they're coming from is important. You might not necessarily agree with somebody, but you can understand them, right?
Yes.
It's important to understand what they're saying. You don't have to agree. Those are two different things. They're mutually exclusive, agreement and understanding. So I think that probably helps too. Understanding, not necessarily agreeing. But I think also, again, people hurt. People are hurting, and they are sometimes these people that are difficult. Their personality, their mums, their dads, their brothers, their uncles, whatever they are, they probably have people in their lives that they care about and people that care about them. So they can't actually be bad people, right? Because if they were, then they wouldn't have these people around them. So I think that's an important thing to remember, right? Is that they're people at the end of the day, and even though they're difficult, and I've learned this and haven't always applied it. So it's easy to say these things, but they're just people, and if they're difficult, there's a reason for that, and it may not be work, it may not be home, it might be something else. I don't know, but there's a reason why they're difficult.
And you're right. It's easy to kind of get caught up in like what you're experiencing without recognizing actually this behavior that this person is demonstrating or exhibiting at the moment might be totally unrelated to what the problem is. The core issue is, I don't know, something deeply personal in their own private lives, and that's kind of coming to work. As always said, like that 8 hours of a person. We don't have very much understanding into what baggage or what they're dealing with at home and many other aspects. So, but
I think it's on us too to this is real easy, not take it personally. Like if they're difficult, again, it's on them. It's them, and you shouldn't take things personally. But it's also work. You shouldn't take it personally. Right. Like, and it's hard to shift to that. Like, I'm not saying that I do that every single day at all. Like, there's some things I go, it really made me upset or angry or pissed off. What's going on there? When really it's just work. It's not actual things.
It's not.
It's not make believe, but it's not also not.
It's hard to separate the two sometimes, especially when you invest, because you're investing your time, your effort. But I invest emotionally in my work as well. Hopefully less so now, but sometimes I know I've invested in it because I'll take it home, like in my head, and I'll be thinking about it. I'll be thinking about interaction at work. And so sometimes it's hard just to cut that cord and say, actually, that's just that moment in time. That's just that professional context that affects. This is not a personal reflection on me as a human being or about, if all things were normal, whatever that might look like. It's just, it can be difficult to separate them.
You definitely take it home, eh? Like, whatever it is, you carry that around with you. If someone's hurt you at work or, whatever on the spectrum it is of that. But you take it home, and then it affects you at home. That's the problem, right? Is when you're affected at work, and then you take that home. That's where it's a problem. That's where you probably got to reflect on yourself a little bit and have some your own ways of dealing with that, because it's not really fair to bring it home to somebody who's not even involved in the slightest. You get home, you yell at your kids because you had a shit day at work. It's so common, right? And you don't even know you're doing it.
No.
But it happens.
But you feel like building up in the back of the pool, like, oh man.
You drive home, just festering,
just stewing over it.
Stewing in your mind. You get home and there's a shoe out on the front door. Whose shoes?
What are some things you find help you to decompress?
It's interesting, eh? When you're working at home, and I do a lot of work from home now, probably three, maybe sometimes even 4 days a week, which is good. But you do need something to decompress. And I actually do I don't know if it's decompressing when you do it like first thing, but I think in cliche, everyone who's done Ironman will talk about doing Ironman, right? But I found when I was doing Ironman, I was too tired to be angry, you know, and you hear about people doing like cold plunges or you know, the Wim Hof stuff, and you have things that are genuinely physically hard. Then when there are things that maybe seem hard but they're not hard, it's actually all right.
Yeah,
you know, like, so I I try and work out every day, definitely every work day, before work.
Nice.
Just to sort of get that shit stuff out of the way and do some hard stuff before I actually tackle the stuff that's quite stressful. Do some physically hard stuff. And lots of people talk about this being a really effective way of dealing with those tough things that happen to you throughout the day. Whereas if you wake up in the morning and you just get up and have breakfast and a cup of coffee, like, it's a pretty sweet start to the day. And as soon as something challenging happens, it's going to test you, right? Whereas if you've done it already, you've already been tested for the day.
It's a nice one.
The stuff afterwards is it's all right. You will get tested, and something will be test you more than what you were tested in the morning, and that's the stuff that will probably piss you off. But that's going to happen anyway, right? The stuff that pisses you off after you've decompressed in the morning is going to piss you off anyway, whether you've decompressed or not. That's
exercise. It's common knowledge now how valuable exercise and how important it is. It's, I guess, the difference between the design, the actual application of doing it. It's just, people find it hard to squeeze it into their days.
That's why the morning's good, eh? Like I'll do my workout, and if I'm working from home, I'll be home before people are up. Like, of course you got to get out of bed at 5 o'clock, but again, that's
impressive, bro.
But it's again something hard, right? You've done something hard. Even just getting out of bed when your alarm clock goes off is hard. It's actually really hard. I heard something this morning. It's hard to go for a run on a cold morning when you sleep in satin sheets. And I don't know how that sort of relates to what I'm talking about, but you do the hard thing. Everything else is actually all right. Nothing else is too difficult after that point. But there are challenges, right? Of course, there's going to be something that challenges you.
I think at this stage, my budget is not satin sheets. So I'll just sleep in the sandpaper. I'll be like, so much easier.
Easy to get out of bed today.
Those coarse blankets that you like. Every home has this old school blanket.
We've got a couple.
Man, you sleep on those things. You can't wait to get out of bed. What we go for time? We're going pretty good. Awesome. What are some things? What's something practical you think somebody could do in the office on a day-to-day level that's going to help them with their day?
Something practical. I think. How do I describe it? Setting like professional boundaries. I don't know if that's practical or not, but setting sort of like these professional boundaries for yourself. Like, what are the things that you're going to do, and what, as in like ethically, morally, whatever it is. What are your values? What are you prepared to do, and what are the things that you're prepared not to do?
Nice.
And I think that's important, because you don't want to be battling with yourself about the things that you're not prepared to do, and just going ahead and doing it anyway. Like, I mean, and maybe that's not that practical. It's quite difficult to do,
but valuable.
Yeah, I think it's really valuable. What are the things that you're prepared to do, and what are the things that you're not prepared to do? And why I say that is that I think I try and apply it quite practically, where I have these times for my day, right, where not meeting at that time, or I'm not doing anything. So I've got to pick up my kids. Like, as an example, I pick up my kids, and that's actually more important than this right now. So whatever you've got on, I've actually got to go pick up my kids first. And I think the world is definitely, in government, is shifting more to that being actually absolutely key to pie. It's not a problem. So I think having those, and the boundaries might be for different things. I know people that they go to the gym between 12 and 1, and you can't book that in because that's the time for them. And without these, we don't have the boundaries, right? You might have people booking in over your gym time, and then you miss your gym time, and then your work's affected, and your effectiveness as a parent, as a partner, as a person is no longer what it could have been, right? So, I think, I don't know how practical that is, but knowing what your boundaries are with your work, I think are really, really important things.
Man, I think that's brilliant. I really do. I think a lot of people would benefit from just applying a little bit of a headspace to work out what that looks like for them. But then just trying it for a little while, like you say, okay, from now on, I'm not going to be available from this time, because if I go to the gym, I'm a better person for it. I can give more. I can add more value. I can be more present, all those other things. But if you take this off me, then I might be able to help you for this, but that's just ruined my potential for the rest of the day. And sometimes it's not even that day, right? It's like a knock-on effect.
And it might not even be work that's affected by it, right?
That's right. Man, awesome, brother. I have no idea how long we've been going on for, but that was dope. Is there anything else you thought you might want to add, throw out there?
No, I don't even know what I've been talking about mainly, but no, it was cool, man.
Wicked.
Thanks for that opportunity. I appreciate it.
Bro, honestly,
I love what you're doing with this. Like, actually,
thanks, bro.
Sometimes I think I'd love to do that. Like, again, Iron Man. People say to me, "Oh, man, I wish I could do an Iron Man." And I said, "Well, you can. Like, why can't you?" And I think about that with this. I'd love to be able to do it. Well, no, I actually can. There's no real reason why I can't. So good on you, man, for taking the leap to do this. Bro. It's awesome and can't be easy,
Well, it's like there's some aspects of it that I find difficult, or at least I'm still learning how to make easier. There's like just the number of components, but ultimately, this is so rewarding for me. It's crazy. Like, this is having conversations like this fills my bucket, and so. It doesn't take me, it's not hard to get out of bed, Whereas I've actually worked jobs where I just remember waking up and thinking, man, I don't want to go there. Right? I don't want to, it's going to be suck soul out of me. But I don't have that with this. So I'm really enjoying it, bro.
No, good for you. I'm stoked for you.
Awesome. Cheers, bro.
And congrats on the purple belt.
Oh, cheers.
Awesome stuff, man.
That was a journey. Like, that was, that was a 3-year goal that shouldn't have been 3 years to achieve. It should have been much shorter. Failed, put in the mahi, got it, and then, just a sense of relief. And also, I felt like I was able to give back to the people that had, this sounds cheesy, yes, but a lot of people were involved in helping me get to that point, whether they realised it or not.
Yeah, of course.
And then also, our lead professor, he'd invested so much time and effort, and I got quite a cool relationship with him, but I felt quite disappointed in myself that I put him in a position where he had to fail me. And so to kind of use all those bits and put them in together in like one moment where I finally got it, I was like, I felt really good. I felt really good about it.
How much difference? How do you think it made you feel different because you failed as well?
I honestly believe I'm better for having failed. I really do. I definitely appreciate it more. And, being grateful for things is quite a big thing in my life. I try to be, I exercise gratitude daily. And so to have something like to overcome that adversity and just the raw disappointment of failing. It sucked, bro. I hated it. And I hated knowing that 6 other people in that cohort passed, and I was the only one who did it.
That's okay.
You just see it like, this is horrible. Right?
You're a failure.
A horrible situation to be in. But I got what, it's just a tough phrase to say sometimes, but I got what I deserved. I didn't do the hard work, so I got the result that I should have been expecting. And even then, I remember I said it. I'm sure I believed it at the time, but I said to him, don't pass me if you don't think I'm up to up to scratch. And he said, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that. I wouldn't pass you."
Yeah, you have to tell me that.
And then I failed. Oh, shit.
Keep my mouth shut next time.
Shut my mouth. Nah, I couldn't have done it anyway. But like, yeah, it was a big process. It was a big milestone for me.
Yeah, awesome. Good on you, man.
All right, that's right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Once again, thanks to Judd for opening up his home and some of his mind and sharing what was some of those thoughts. Definitely some gold in there. So take the time, rewind, and I'll try and put some tags in the footnotes. About the learn fast stuff, about putting some structure into what you're prepared to do and what you're not prepared to do, and some thoughts on contracting as well, which I think would be beneficial for a lot of people. But for now, ka kite, and we'll catch up soon. Cheers, brother.
Cheers, bro.
Awesome. Beauty.